and welcome to The What Show, a show where we dissect the ins and outs of socio-economic, business and money matters of Malaysia and Southeast Asia.
I am your host Bahons, and this is part 1 of the second episode of the entire series. So, in May 2020, Warren Buffett sold off his stakes in American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines and also United Airlines, causing airlines share prices to drop and also the US index to tumble the very next day. This has also given investors an idea of what the fourth wealthiest person is thinking with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we at The What Show figured, let's speak to someone who knows what is going on in the regional aviation industry. So for today, let's welcome Doreenn Leong, editor of Puon Tribune, an online business website. Hi Doreenn, how are you?
Hi,
how have you been?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great as well.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's dive straight into the topic.
Sure.
Alright, so based on our introduction earlier, could you tell us a little bit more of the current state of the aviation industry in Malaysia?
Well, over the short to medium term, it doesn't really look so good. Like even just recently, it's estimated that this year, the global aviation industry is expected to lose like some 411 million US dollar in terms of revenue. So it looks quite bleak. I mean, especially the travel industry, aviation is one of the hardest hit. So, like you can see, as expected, Malaysia airports, no revenue, no passengers, so they suffered, I think, 90% drop in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
So they're going to suffer. I mean, everyone is suffering. There's no one spared. And for Malaysia Airlines, it's going to be a bit tough because they are really settled with that for many years, and they are trying to work out like strategic partnership.
Yeah.
Khazanah is trying to find a solution to help Malaysia Airlines, how do we come out from this rut? And with this with this pandemic, it doesn't really help things. I mean, it makes matters worse, I would say. So
it's getting, in a way,
hanging on the balance.
Worse, bad to worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, what's next for Malaysia Airlines, I wouldn't dare to say, because again, the strategic partners, they won't come in now because they themselves probably are suffering too. Right? You talk about Japan Airlines. I mean, I don't know who is actually profitable now during this pandemic.
That isn't, yeah.
So I guess it all depends on what the government wants to do. And of course, just yesterday, I think Tengku Zafrul, the finance minister, mentioned that the government is not going to bail out the airlines.
Okay.
They're asking them to go commercial. Like if you go on commercial solutions, the government is not going to bail you out. So what they can do is probably do what they do for the other sectors as well, like offer incentives, subsidies, things like that. I mean, it's not airline specific.
Okay.
Yeah. But in other countries, there are packages and things that they do to help the airlines because they recognize airlines as a strategic asset. It helps grow the economy, the tourism. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's quite bleak, but yeah.
Okay, so there is more of MAB.
Yeah.
What about the other two players in Malaysia? How are they faring so far?
If you're referring to AirAsia, well, AirAsia is also badly hit. I mean, they reported a full year net loss of about 200 million for 2019.
Okay.
And that was from a profit of 1.0 billion.
That's very, very thin, especially for such a big entity. Yep.
Yeah. So Malindo, of course, they're private. I mean, they don't disclose the numbers, but as far as I know, from day one, they have not been making money. And recently, they changed their CEO, so it's pretty quiet. And the only thing you hear about Malindo is about them reducing staff. Like it's not so positive, I would say.
Okay. So if that's the case, how can they bounce through or bounce back from this current situation?
Like I mentioned earlier, it'd be quite difficult, especially Malaysia Airlines. They have been suffering for many years, and what else can they do except if government continue pumping money, which is ridiculous, right? Billions have been spent on, to how to revive the national carrier. But my stand has always been, just sell it, But for now, who's going to buy it? It's difficult. The only way out for them, I guess, for me, air travel will grow. Right? It's a matter of time. People, even you look at cinemas, people are going back, people are watching movie. But of course, airline is a bit different because it's asset based and it's dependent on a lot of other factors as well. So people are still very reluctant to fly unless they really have to. So and government is asking for airlines to actually give discounts, to teachers, to students. I mean, their margins are already so thin.
Yeah.
And you want airlines to give further discounts. I mean,
then you'll be operating at a loss.
Even bigger loss.
Even bigger loss.
Yeah, they're already making losses. So what's next for them? Instead of helping them, so-called helping them, but you are asking them to give discounts. And if you want to give discounts, why limit to teachers and students?
Yeah, what's the rationale behind
it's
that?
It's not a necessity. You don't need to travel. So only if they want to travel, then they pay the price for it. And so there's this thing. I mean, I think it's just the survival of the fittest. But airlines who have strong cash flow, which there are not many, and AirAsia probably will be able to grow out of this faster because they are more nimble and their cost is pretty low. So as during this pandemic, they have also cut costs, train staff, and also they are riding a lot on technology, especially to help their business to keep costs low. So probably they will be better off, I would say. But then again, their debts are huge. So there are a lot of factors involved, and they are also driven very much by forward booking. So whenever we book, the cash comes in, and it helps them pay for their fuel, for their costs and everything. So once people stop booking, then they imagine there are no more people booking on the airline, no sales, and how do they pay for the debts? I mean, their debts is really huge, the interest itself. So they're over leveraged. So how do you do that, right? So it's very, very precarious. If they can solve the issue, probably AirAsia will be better off.
All right, so let's talk now about our regional carriers, our brothers and sisters from ASEAN and beyond. Thai Airways filed for bankruptcy. Singapore Airlines reported its first net loss in 48 years. Garuda Airlines received its Sukuk extension, and Lion Air reportedly said the airline is losing 7.5 trillion rupiah a month, which is about 750 million
a month.
How will this be reflected to the Malaysian players? We don't really have the numbers out there yet. Everyone is, especially the private carriers, they are not really disclosing a lot of numbers, but we can,
that's a general
do our
consensus.
own figures and what. So they are not spared. So how badly are we affected?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, AirAsia has made their full year loss in 2019. So, and people are not probably they will do a bit better because AirAsia is a bit more nimble. Their cost is pretty low, so it's easier for them to get out from this thing. But for Malaysia Airlines, it depends very much on. I think it hinges more on the direction of the government, Khazanah, what they want to do with Malaysia Airlines. I think there's a lot of uncertainties when it comes to Malaysia Airlines.
Okay, so if I were to say, within the next 6 months, what do you see for Malaysia Airlines? What do you see for AirAsia, and what do you see for Malindo in the next 6 months?
Okay, 6 months is a very, very short period, and probably they will not return to the norm anytime soon because 6 months is really, now we're already in July. So probably AirAsia would make even bigger losses. 2019, 200 million RM. So this year will probably be higher, I would think. I have not really analyzed the numbers, but it doesn't look good. 2019, if it's so bad, 2020 is
going
where it
worse.
it was a crunch, right?
Okay.
So for them, but they have always come out from crisis, right? Like previous Asian crisis and several other crises before. So they say that they can come out from this, but this is a different thing, I think.
Yeah.
So 6 months, I think situation would not be too bright. You know? So I think it again depends on whether the government is going to help them to weather through this period, this 6 months, for instance. But travel, people still want to travel. We want to travel.
I can't wait to get out of Malaysia for a holiday.
Even domestic traveling is
Even domestic travel. I want to go to Kota Kinabalu. I want to go up to the mountains. I want to go see Mount Kinabalu. But it's literally overseas travel.
Correct. Yeah. You still get into a plane.
You still get into a plane. You cross the South China Sea. It's still Malaysia.
Still, the feel of packing your bags and raring to go.
Yep. So that's all, folks. We'll take a break right now. So we'll continue in part 2 of this video where we go much deeper into the topic today. So thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe The What Show.